Hey everybody, this is GGB. We're going to have an interesting slate of college football this weekend. I'm actually really excited. There's like around 20, I didn't count exactly, around 20 though, I believe, college football teams still for playoff consideration. So we had some eliminations last week. I think as I estimate around 3 eliminations. I think that went it from 22. So I think that we're about 19 teams that are still in playoff consideration, guys. So again, under 20, we're getting into that nitty-gritty area where we think we have an idea of who could possibly make it, but all these teams are still playing for something. It's interesting. Let's start with the first one. We got 11 o'clock, number 2 Cincinnati traveling to Tulane. Cincinnati favored by 26 points on ESPN2. So last week was interesting because heading into that game, I didn't think anyone was going to give Cincinnati a game the rest of the year. They already made it past Notre Dame, their toughest opponent, right? They slept. They slept on Navy. They slept on Navy hard. And what's interesting is, I don't even think you can use the excuse that you were looking ahead, right? Because the next game's Tulane. You don't really have to look ahead for that one. Like, if the next game was SMU or Houston or maybe even Memphis, like, I can understand that argument. Like, they were looking ahead, trying to figure out how to beat the next team. They just barely sneak by. Shouldn't barely sneak by Navy. Like, that's not something you should do. It's not. Like, Navy's not a good football team this year. It's a bad football team. But moving past that, Desmond Ritter last week went 18-30, threw for 176 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Jerome Ford had 15 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown, and Josh Weil had 4 catches for 60 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tulane, on the other hand, coming off yet another loss to SMU last week, and I think on like Thursday, was when the SMU game was. It is honestly super confusing. It really is how bad Tulane is. Like, they started off the season phenomenal, right? They gave Oklahoma a game. They ended up only losing that game by 5 points, and they had a chance at the end of it to win the game. They had the ball only down by 5 with plenty of time. And at midfield, right? And they came a yard short of picking up the first down that could have extended the drive, and who knows, maybe they win that football game if they get that. Tulane starts out the season so strong, right? And you're thinking, maybe Tulane's going to be an American contender this year. And then it's just all back to reality. They've won one game. They're 1-6 right now. Their one game was against like an FCS Division II, Division III opponent. It's like, that's not good, Tulane. You haven't won a single American game, right? Completely defeated an American play. This is like a game you have to have if you're Tulane, right? Because you're 1-6. You have pushed it to the brink. You have to win every remaining game to get the bowl eligibility. Every single one. Can they? I don't know. I don't know if Tulane can do that. I just don't think it's so because Cincinnati's in the way. But last week, Michael Pratt didn't have a bad game. And that's what Tulane's going to have to rely on if they want to win football games, really, at this point. He only had a 50% completion rate, went 11-22, but he did throw for 234 yards and 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Again, Michael Pratt's a good quarterback. It's just his team isn't. Ty J. Spears had 14 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown. Honestly, that is not a bad stat right there. That's not a bad running back stat. And Shaquan Jackson had 2 catches for 93 yards. Again, Michael Pratt was spreading the ball around. He wasn't exactly going to one receiver, not a dominant receiver among them. Cincinnati 6-11 against Tulane all time, but the last 3 games have gone to Cincinnati. The last 4 out of the last 5 have gone to Cincy, and they're 2-0 under Luke Fickell against Tulane. They have owned Tulane recently. In recent memory, it has been the Cincinnati show when they were playing Tulane. Sorry. Fact is, this is Cincinnati's, this is kind of like a bounce back game, right? You had a bad game against Navy, right? This is like, remember when I said against Alabama, you don't lose 2 times in a row if you're a good football team, right? It just doesn't happen. Alabama never loses 2 times in a row. Georgia's not going to lose 2 times in a row. It's like, if you are a good football team, you do not lose 2 times in a row. That's why I don't think Penn State's a good football team this year. It's interesting because I don't care. Like, the top tier coaches, Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, they don't lose 2 weeks in a row. I know Dabo Swinney's having an odd year, but he's not going to lose 2 games in a row. Cincinnati is one of those teams that is not going to lose or come close to losing 2 weeks in a row. Like, they barely beat Navy. This is like, And honestly, they're lucky Oklahoma had a horrible week against Kansas. Because if Oklahoma doesn't have a horrible week against Kansas, they're the number 2 team right now. It's just Cincinnati is a better team. They're going to have a bounce-back game. I know it. Cincinnati's just going to blow out Tulane. It's going to happen. Give me Cincinnati to win and cover here.